Okay.
Oh, yes.
And then I'm going to do introduction and I'll toss it over to you, Belinda.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you, Brad.
All right. Hello, my name is Brad Breedehoff. I'm with Museum Study, and I would like to welcome everyone to our latest free webinar, Adaptable Agile Museums, presented by Belinda Waldock. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the Museum Study YouTube channel with our past webinars. So if you want to review it or you missed part of it, you can go see it there. Um, you're welcome to introduce yourself in the chat. Share your name, location, and institution. If you're not with an institution, you can say private practice or in school, whatever. Um, Museum Study provides online professional development for people who work in or with cultural institutions. I see a few familiar faces here, like Danielle, who have taken our courses in the past, um, and a lot of new people from all over the world. Near as I could tell, people from 7 to 9 different countries signed up for this webinar, which is always fun, from New Zealand to, I think, Romania, and a few on the continent of Africa. So that's exciting. Um, we have 3 courses next month for anyone who is interested. Writing K through 12 lesson plans for museums, which applies to anyone who's writing a lesson plan for kids of basically any age. Policies for managing collections, which is taught by John Simmons. Those of you who work in collections may be familiar with that name. And then our third course is creating virtual learning opportunities, which is how to create virtual programs. Um, we have many more courses each month this year, so if you are interested in seeing what else we have, um, you can check out our schedule page, which I've dropped into the chat, to see what else is coming up this year. Um, Today's presentation will be by Belinda Waldock, an experienced business growth advisor. This may sound familiar, Belinda. Um, a certified business coach, speaker, and author who specializes in helping organizations adopt an agile mindset to support productivity, growth, and well-being. As the founder of Being Agile in Business, she has built a reputation over 25 years for making agile principles and tools accessible and immediately applicable in non-technical environments. She's known for her work with charities and social enterprises, creative arts, heritage and culture, healthcare and well-being, but works across sectors with small to medium-sized organizations, the public sector, and enterprise. Her best-selling book, Being Agile in Business,
I
um,
should have a copy, shouldn't I?
was featured in the Times. For those of you not from the UK, that is London's largest newspaper, and awarded Management Gold by the Chartered Management Institute. After Belinda's presentation, we will have time for, there's the book cover. After Belinda's presentation, we will have time for Q&A. You are welcome to post your questions at any time in the chat. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Belinda.
Oh, brilliant. What a lovely introduction. Thank you, Brad. That's lovely. It made me feel a bit old when you said 25 years, but other than that, it was wonderful. And thank you for all the intros in the chat as well. I was just reading through them as Brad was introducing me, and we've got oh gosh, we've got people from all over, which is fabulous. California and Wisconsin, Maine, Nova Scotia, Texas. So yeah, do pop a hello in the chat and let me know who you are and what you sort of do within museums, because it's always nice to know. And I can already, somebody mentioned about installations, and my mind went off to a lighting installation that we did in an agile way, which was fabulous. So rather than the museum having fixed lighting, they actually looked at how they could put in adaptable lighting and movable lighting so that they could change their exhibitions and things. Because often, well, most of what they had was really fixed spaces, but it was really good. And he won an award for it, which was fabulous. So that was the Royal Cornwall Museum. So I'm based over in the UK. Um, hopefully I'll try not to be too Cornish. I'm down in Cornwall, so I can go a bit ooh sometimes, especially when I relax and I get excited. So I um, I will try and speak clearly in that sense. But it's absolutely wonderful to be here and wonderful to see everybody. Um, and do for say, oh, you're down in New Zealand. Oh, fabulous, Philip. Oh, I feel like we're sort of covering the whole world, which is amazing. And so most of my work has been in the UK, but I did get flown out to Doha a few years ago to work on a new museum that was launching over there, which is fabulous. And that was really interesting in terms of sort of culture and what they were doing. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing and taking their sort of agile approach to not just launching and opening the museum, but the exhibitions that they were going to run because they were going to do some quite kind of pushing the limit stuff. And they wanted to be able to kind of push the limits and then pull it back a bit if they needed to and push it forward if it was going well. So, right, I'm going to stop myself because I will just spend the whole hour telling you stories, which will be fabulous, but also you'll want to learn about this thing called Agile. So, as anybody out of interest, is anybody using Agile or used Agile previously? I know that there are. I have come across people that have had tech careers and then ended up working in heritage and museums and art. So, Agile originally comes from the tech sector, and it was basically all about where sort of traditional project management methods were all really based on methods where we could predict what we were going to do. And when we're building tech, because it's new, we didn't really know what we were doing or how we're going to do things. So this originated in tech, and then I kind of adapted it for work for use in non-tech. And that's when Pearson approached me about writing the book. So you should be able to get a copy on Amazon. It's Kindle or paper copies. And yeah, and they approached me, and then, gosh, it's nearly clocking on 10 years now where I linked up with some local museums and we ran a program to look at how Agile could work within museums, heritage, art galleries, all around Cornwall. And it worked fabulously. It really, really landed. And so my favourite subjects at school were English, art, and history. So I very much got excited. And ever since, I've been very much working in that area. I still work in different sectors as well. I saw business growth and development and innovation coach as well. But I absolutely adore the work that I do with museums. So it's a real pleasure to be here today. And I love the idea of it going kind of international and having people in New Zealand and Europe and America and everywhere doing Agile. Right, I'm going to share my slides. Otherwise, I will spend the whole time talking off the cuff. So this will keep me on track. So Brad did an absolutely wonderful introduction. So that's just me, and I will share some links as well in the chat when I get chance, when I get to that slide as such. I've also got a new domain name, which I've been trying to test. So I am going to ask if anybody can have a look at museumspm.co.uk, museumpm.co.uk, and see if it works, because I'm hoping it does. If not, we'll default back to the other one. But if anybody can have a quick peek, that would be brilliant. I wasn't sure whether I've got the security quite right and it'll let you through. So, Adaptable Agile Museums. So, I sort of mentioned that I've been working with museums for quite a long time now, and I've really covered lots of different areas. I know there's a particular interest in collections here with this group, but also kind of looking at exhibitions, like curation. I've done some great work with a couple of organisations recently around conservation and preservation. And I've also been looking at agile education in museums as well, which has been really good. I've done quite a lot of teaching. I've taught in an agile way in a more traditional environment, but actually taking that education into museums is a real growing area in the UK. We have a lot of kids that are homeschooled. We have a lot of educational opportunities within museums and heritage, which is fantastic. Then on the kind of more sort of other side of things like marketing, communications, operations, and management. We have a lot of funding here, so we have a lot of kind of short funding cycles, which we really need to be responsive to, and a lot of collaboration. So it's a really great method in terms of that sense of getting people together and getting people working well together. And I want to give you a little taster of it today. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a taster of the agile mindset and then also the method. So I talk a lot about kind of doing agile or being agile, and you can probably guess from the name of my company that I'm very much about the kind of being agile, particularly the mindset, and then using the tools and the methods to actually help us to get those kind of attitudes and behaviors of being agile rather than being kind of rigid or fixed. So we want to be adaptable and flexible and innovative and all these wonderful things that we are naturally, because often in museums, people are very naturally agile, and this really helps to give it a structure. And that's why I get a lot of feedback of is this is the way I like to work, and now I can call it something. I'm not just winging it. I'm not just, doing it as I go. There is method behind things. So why do we want to be agile? This is one of my favourite slides. I can't see anybody on. I don't know if anybody wants to come and kind of come on video so I can see faces and reactions. But usually this is greeted by a sort of assortment of laughter and eye rolls in that sense of relating to this in terms of, and I think not just, when we're managing collections, but life in general, isn't it? What we plan versus what actually happens. So traditional methods tend to kind of be more that left-hand side. So this is where we are, this is where we want to be, and then this is how we're going to get there. And project management is all about holding us to that line. So it's all very predictive. This is what we're going to do. But actually what happens is we get these twists and turns. We get these things that we learn as we go. And so we really need a method that allows us to embrace those twists and turns. So take advantage of those opportunities, but then also mitigate against things when they don't quite go to plan. Yeah. So, and do feel free to pop things in the chat or put any questions as we're going. If you get any questions, pop them in the chat, and then I'll try and keep an eye and answer them as I go. But as Brad said, we'll have some Q&A at the end as well. So it's and I will be asking a few questions as well, and we'll use the chat. So yeah, so Laurie, brilliant. You said like so true. What we plan, what happens. So really agile is a method for helping us to navigate this. So I've got this little matrix, and I've sort of mentioned about predictive versus adaptive type planning and management. And I love this matrix in that it kind of really gives us kind of where we are at the moment. So on one axis, we've got the what. Are we close to agreement, or are you far from agreement on what you're doing right now? And then on the other axes, we've got how. So are we close to certainty or far from certainty on how we're going to do things? So I don't know, in the chat, if you want to pop down, like, where do you feel like you are on that matrix at the moment? Are you down there in simple? Do you know exactly what you're doing and how you're going to do things? Is it a bit complicated? You know the options, but you haven't quite worked out which ones to go for yet. Is it complex? I mean, I always think anything involving humans is inherently complex. So there's lots of moving parts and unknowns. Or are you up there in chaos? I have no idea what I'm doing or how I'm going to do things. So yeah, do drop in the chat so that we have, because it's always really interesting to hear where people feel like they are on the matrix. So it's totally chaotic, Laurie. Brilliant, brilliant. It's complicated to complex, complex with a sprinkle of chaos at the moment. Yeah, this is what comes out every time I run. So this is like a little mini version of my course, little snippets from it. And so many, more often than not, we're all up there in complex and chaotic. often when we actually sort of think into it a little bit, and I like that you sort of said mostly complex with a sprinkle of chaos at the moment. Who said that? Sarah. Because actually you're right in that often if we break things down, there's a bit in all of these sections, there's a little bit of, yeah, I know what I'm doing, how I'm going to do things. So we can kind of map, and if we break it down, we'll probably find, but it only takes a little bit of chaos to make everything feel chaotic. It's oh gosh, let's not get into politics. Oh, we haven't got time, but yes, absolutely. Those stakeholders that just change their minds on a whim and just make these decisions that impact everybody, and then we're thrown into that chaos of having to deal with it. It's almost like comes over the hedge over us, and we have to catch it. So when we're down there in simple, we can take quite a predictable approach. Yeah, things are quite obvious, they're known, we know what we're doing, we can plan what we're going to do, we can do it and then evaluate at the end. We can take a fairly traditional approach. But as we move into that kind of complicated, complex, and chaotic, things become more uncertain, they become ambiguous, and they become they oh, sorry, just oh, there you go. Yeah. So things become much more ambiguous. They evolve and they're changing. We don't know what we don't know. So there are unknown unknowns. We don't know what they are. And that can make things really uncertain and unpredictable. And then we're really kind of reliant on emergent practice. We're reliant on using our knowledge and our experience to map out the best way forward. And we want to be able to change direction as we're learning. So as we're trying things, we're learning and we want to make improvements. So Agile really helps us to do that. So I thought what we do, let me have a little quick look at the chat because I think a couple more bounced in as I was going. So totally chaotic, complex to chaotic, yeah. And that dawn changes by the task and yeah, by the day. Some from pleasingly simple to lurching into chaos, absolutely. And yeah, Philip, so you're spot on there is actually, and that's what I'll do often is if I'm working with a team that feel really chaotic, we'll break it down and just make them feel better by going, oh, there are some things in simple. But yeah, that chaos makes it all feel chaotic. So I thought we'd play a little game if you're up for it. Oh, sorry. Before we do that, just some of those challenges that we face. So when we're up there in chaos, up there in complexity, we're often juggling multiple things, wearing different hats. We're trying to make improvements, but we're so snowed under with the day to day. It's really hard to find that time to make those changes and improvements, even though we know they make our life so much easier. We'll also find ourselves kind of working across teams, having those collaborations, and we're navigating those changes all the time. So it's really giving us that kind of ability to navigate that change and keep us on track. So the mindset game. So this is a game that I created many moons ago. I found a document. It really made me sit up and think. So much so I had to turn it into a game for my courses. So I thought I would share it, a little mini version of it today with you. So again, I'm going to ask you to pop some thoughts in the chat. What I'm going to do, I am going to show you a list of things that I found in this document. As I read through them, just have a think about how you feel about them. Do you feel positively? Do you feel negatively about them? Do you recognize them in yourself or in others? And we'll go through that. We'll have a little chat about it, and then I will reveal where the information came from. Does that make sense? Good. Right. So, do you find yourself delaying things until they're absolutely ready? So, I'm working on this thing. I don't want to show anyone until it's absolutely done. And I really want it to be perfect. Yeah. So, I really want it to be perfect. Do you find in meetings like haggling over precise wordings and not being able to take action until things are in writing and they're put in writing? Do you prioritize unimportant tasks? So that's one I tend to put my hand up to. I'm very easily distracted by shiny things, as you found at the beginning of this, as I was finding out where everybody was from. Insisting on doing everything through channels. So we need to make sure that we're following due process, we're following our procedures and policies to the letter. We're not going to take any shortcuts, even if it did expedite things, it sped things up. We're going to stick to the channels that we've got set. Ideas being referred for further and study and research are rather being taken forward. Actually, we're going to take some time, do some research, do some study on them, put together a plan, and then we'll consider them. Lots of people involved in decision making, so lots and lots of people involved in those making those decisions. And then finally, always applying all regulations to the last letter. So this is like gold plating, even though it doesn't need to be gold plated. So we're ticking boxes, even if we don't need to tick them, we're still going to tick those boxes. So, any of those do you relate to, or any thoughts on those? Feel free to unmute and say a few words out thing. I'm just going through the chat. So, any of those particularly jump out at you that you feel? Oh, Laurie, hello. So,
The project that I'm working on now outside of class for Brad, absolutely not. We're part of the organization until recently has been volunteer only, and absolutely not. None of
no,
these apply because we're
oh,
kind of
brilliant.
all over the place. And we are, one of our volunteers have called us the um, Anarchist Collective.
I love that. I
Yeah,
like that though.
I thought
So
you would
yeah,
find that amusing.
yeah. That really reminds me of what often when I'm working with startups, what they say. We haven't got, yeah, we don't get to do this stuff. We're just getting on with it and doing it. And yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, absolutely. Brilliant, brilliant. Anybody else?
Hmm. I can speak
Go
to
on,
this.
go on, Dawn. Yeah,
I
go on,
yeah,
brilliant.
so I looked at all of these and I don't prioritize unimportant tasks, but my life is pretty chaotic because we're creating a new museum. And so we're a major natural history museum in the United States. So I oversee over 500,000 items. I'm in charge of NAGPRA or
Wow.
repatriation efforts. Um, and I run a department, lots of volunteers, half-time person. So I look at this and I don't prioritize unimportant tasks, but some days in the beginning of my day or the end of my day, I work on something simple that I
Yeah.
feel I can achieve within like literally 10 to 15 minutes because everything, including moving all the collections, we have a team that we hired temporarily. So, but all of the rest of these, I see this describes my administrator, my direct report,
Yeah,
because he
yeah.
is pretty new to the field and he came from a different field. And so business is not usual, is what I'm saying because of these things. But I thought, oh my goodness, this is so it's not me, it's really more him. Because I think he's trying to find his way. And so compartmentalizing, I think, is easier for him
Yeah.
because he doesn't have to do the chaos. He is not involved in the chaos.
Yeah. And he hasn't got, if he's new, he hasn't necessarily got that
Mhm.
knowledge and experience. So he's
Yes,
having to follow
exactly.
things by the
Exactly.
letter.
And kind of navigating, the people above and the people, so trying to understand what they want, from leadership. So it's interesting to observe, but
Yeah, yeah, no, totally get you. It's I just something's just popped in the chat as well. Oh, Philip, brilliant. So as I work in a small medium museum in a wider local government organisation, I find myself I find my museum and I caught up in a number of these, courtesy of others higher up. But for me personally, the unimportant task item resonates. Oh, you're a kindred spirit there, Philip. But you hit a nail on the head there, because what I find when I work with like government teams, or I work with like senior leadership teams, large organizations. I mean, I remember one public sector team that I worked with, and they literally spent about 20 minutes arguing why all these things are absolutely vital and important. I think that'll resonate with you, Philip, from your comment. And so it was the best reveal I ever did. What I find with smaller organisations, smaller museums, it's like, oh, we wish we don't have time for these things, exactly like what you guys were saying. So I always come down to this kind of balance. That's the word that I often use, in that, actually, like sometimes things do need to be right, but perfect is a bit of an opinion rather than it's an opinion thing. And, and it's nice to work on the shiny things sometimes, not just the absolute urgent, important stuff. We do need to tick the boxes, especially here where we have a lot of funding. We do have to tick those boxes, but we don't want it to be at the cost of actually delivering an amazing exhibition or delivering brilliant education. So it really is, for me, it's about this kind of balance of things, and really allowing us to not be too constrained by rules and regulations if possible, because they do stifle our creativity and our innovation. Any guesses where I found this list? I'll give you a minute just to have a little think, just in case any ideas come up. I've just realised, bear with me a second, I haven't got my just grab my phone so I've got the time check, because I can't see the time on with the sharing the slides, and I'm like, oh, how am I getting on? We're doing good. We're doing good. So
I'll
no,
hazard a guess where the list came
go on,
from.
Brad.
Your publisher.
Well, no, oh gosh, that send me off. That's a shiny distraction. That's like one of those. Just, interestingly, when I spoke to Pearson, I'll try and say this really succinctly. They approached me and said, would you like to write a book? I was like, bit the hand off. Yes, absolutely. They explained the process to me, and they were like, right, okay, you do your proposal. We agree your proposal. You then sort of disappear into a broom cupboard for up to 12 months, write your 50,000 words. You then give us those 50,000 words. We'll review it. You then rework it. And I'm like, rework 50,000 words? What? And then we'll go into the kind of, editing and page setting, and then you'll get a book at the end. And I was just like, I can't do that. I can't write that in isolation. And the idea of reworking 50,000 words is awful. So I said about taking an agile approach. And luckily, Eloise, my editor, was well up for it. So what I did was I started writing, and every couple of weeks I would send her my work in progress, and she would give me feedback. So the first time we did it, the first couple of sort of iterations that we did, she gave me brilliant feedback. Like, I mean, I joke she de-Cornished me, like that some of my language that I used, and got me writing a bit more proper English and proper English. Like, that's a good example, isn't it? And she would say, oh, that would work really well as bullet points, or this with this. So really early on, just with a couple of thousand words, I was able to rework that. And then after those first couple of sprints, I was then writing. So then she was really feeding back to me on the content rather than the process and how I was writing. So I didn't have to rework 50,000 words. I just had to rework a couple of thousand words. Then I got it right. Then I was able to write the version of the book. And the marketing guys that were involved as well, they read the book as part of doing the marketing, and they said, how can we take an agile approach to this? So we actually ended up doing that as well. And what I absolutely loved was I was then brought into Pearson to work with their brand and communications and marketing team and a couple of other teams. And Eloise started using it with other authors, which went down brilliantly. And now it is her go-to method for how she works with her authors as an editor. So that's a kind of real, like, when you can shift Pearson, a mega organization, if you can shift their mindset, it's one of my favorite things. But yeah, sorry, I've got that little tangent, but it's well worth sharing. It's a nice little gem. So, right, where does this list come from? So, I don't think this is going to surprise you guys by the answers that you gave. It is from a simple sabotage field manual. So, it is a manual that was written back in the 1940s. And the idea was that this is a manual on how to sabotage productivity in the workplace without getting caught. So I can see Dawn's like, oh my word. It's like, yeah, it's like basically this is, I mean, you can look it up. It's now an unclassified document, but you can look it up and there's a whole section there on general interference with organizations and production. And it's got, insist on doing everything through channels, never permit shortcuts to be taken to expedite decisions, referral matters to committee for further study and consideration, haggle over precise wordings, refer matters back. So these are all behaviours that often, we see in like you were saying, Philip, these larger organisations, in more kind of public sector or corporate organisations. But actually, they can be counterproductive. They can actually be stifling our productivity and our agility and our creativity. So when I read it, it really made me sit up and think and go, hang on a minute. I do some of these things sometimes. So now I love this game because it kind of puts it in your head. So then, over the next couple of weeks, you might catch yourself doing one of these things like, oh, I've got that report to write, but I'm not going to send it to anybody till it's absolutely done. Whereas actually I've had, I've lost count really of people that have said things like, yeah, we have to put that report. But I had a lady recently and she said after the workshop, she shared the work in progress with a couple of her colleagues. And she said, do you know what? That report is 100 times better for it because the feedback and the input that she got to her work in progress actually made that end result so much better. So there's almost a kind of weird thing of like, because I am a bit of a perfectionist. I've had to work hard on like good enough is good enough. I do like things to be brilliant wherever possible. But it's that kind of just sanity check of, but does it need to be? Is good enough good enough? And can I share it early, get that feedback, and actually get closer to perfection by sharing my work in progress and getting that feedback and making it better? That's oh, Brad, so yeah, oh, brilliant. So you've put, yeah, so it's a declassified in 2008. And I think it was like 2000. I think it was about 2012 that, because I did it as a lightning talk at a conference once, and it was hilarious. I had 300 people standing up and then got them all to sit down as they recognized them. And by the end of it, everybody was sat down. And then I revealed, and it made everybody laugh. It was, but yeah, it's a really nice one just for questioning some of this behavior that can be over process. It can be too much process sometimes. So I'm glad that one went down well. It's a good one, and hopefully you might catch yourself or other people doing these things in the going forward, and and just sort of question, oh, is this the right thing to do or not? Go on, Dawn.
I just have to share this because this is hysterical because of I mean he's a wonderful person, but there was a document that he said, "Oh, I'll work on this spreadsheet, doing this." And just this week, it's taken a year and a half. He hasn't
Wow.
let me look at it. And
Yeah.
because of this, and I've been waiting, and it's pretty critical for the work that I do, but I can't like couldn't rush them, and he said we're gonna have finally a meeting about it. And I've been waiting a year and a half basically for
Wow.
so because that process, exactly what you said, was I thought that he would share this and as we move and it can develop together.
Yeah, yeah,
He didn't want to do it. So and
yeah.
he thinks he's helping me is what it
Ah, it's
so
oh, I'd love to see him on a course.
yeah, by taking just what you said is just I yeah, anyway. I'm gonna stop.
I am resisting going into a bit of a sort of Q&A with you actually, because I'm like, oh, I wonder this, I wonder that, and there's lots more about this. But you remind me, actually, I worked with the Arts Council, so Arts Council England over here, who provide a lot of the funding, and one of the departments I worked with, they generate a report, an annual report, and we were looking at that as a project and as a thing. And this report was like, it was lockdown time, so it was like 21, I think, and they were still working on the 2018 report. And it was like 80% done, but they were still waiting for other stuff to come in. So they weren't going to publish it until it was 100% done. But I really challenged that because I was like, well, how much of this did you have like at the end of 2018? And they were like, oh, probably half of it. And I was like, so why didn't you publish that half? And they were like, oh no, we can't publish it until it's absolutely finished and done. And I'm like, well, how useful is that information 3 years later? So actually you could be publishing this as you go, and then people can be using this data, they can be using this information, they can be seeing it, and then as it comes in, you don't have to wait until everything's done and perfect. So they actually took that approach, and it really went down well because people would just literally sat there a bit like you done, waiting and waiting for it. And yeah, they changed the way that they were working. So
And
oh,
it's
brilliant.
surprising because it's an internal document.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
So
not even
I
going out there,
God,
you know?
I'd love to do a session with him and talk to him about it and like try and work out what are some of those, what are some, because there could be a number of underlying things that actually, I'm a very theory why person, so I'm a very people are doing the best that they can with what they've got. So if they're not doing the best they can, then it's because they haven't got the skills or the resources or the environment or the knowledge or the experience that they need. So it's up to us, if we're their leaders, to actually work that out and help them to make sure that they've got a safe space, that they feel comfortable sharing it, but they've got the skills, they've got the knowledge, they've got the experience to be able to do it. So but yeah, I'm going to stop myself there, Dawn. And yeah, if we do end up catching up on a course, then we will dive deeper into that most definitely. So how my answer to this, in this sense of how do we deal with this that we so often get stuck in, is cake. So oh sorry, my slides keep defaulting to the chat. So is cake. So hopefully you'll be able to grab a biscuit or some cake or something after this, because this will be a bit mouth-watering. But let me explain the metaphor. So if we think about kind of project management, so we can use Agile across the business in lots of different areas, but I'm just focusing in on project management today. Our kind of traditional approach on that left hand side, we plan things, we then design them, we then create something, we deliver it, share it, and then we evaluate it, and then we sustain and maintain it. Yeah, so that's our kind of natural project management kind of process. And often we'll take a linear process to that. So instead of that linear kind of, we're going to do all the planning, then the design, then the create, then the deliver, then the evaluate, then the sustain, is actually we're going to eat our projects like they're cake. So if you imagine each of those layers in those cake being a layer of your project management, We're going to eat our project slice by slice. So we're going to do a little bit of planning, a little bit of design, that first cake, and we call that a sprint of work. So what we can do, so if we imagine you've got a collection, so you've got somebody said they got a collection of 500,000 items, you're not going to be able to do all those 500,000 all at once. So what we would do is we would pick like what are our most valuable, our most best pieces, and we'll work on those first. We'll plan, we'll design, we'll create, we'll archive them, or we'll document them, whatever it might be. And then our next slice of cake, and our next slice of cake, and our next slice of cake. And what this means is we're delivering things much earlier and more frequently than we would do if we were trying to do them all in one go. And it also means that we can have different cakes, so different projects, and we're just having a little slice of each of those cakes. We have a lovely hotel locally who does like a cream tea afternoon tea, and you get a selection of slices of cake. And I always want to take a photo and always forget to take it when I go with my friends. But yeah, so the answer is eat your projects like they're cake. Take them slice by slice. Yeah. And this sort of idea of running sprints, not marathons. So often when we're looking at museum projects, heritage projects, they aren't quick sprints, they are big long marathons. Yeah, these are huge marathons that we're looking to run. But if we try and run that all in one go, we probably won't finish. We'll never get to the end, and we'll be absolutely exhausted, burnt out, and not in a great place. So what we want to do is we want to break that marathon into our sprints. Yeah. So we want to if we kind of think about that running analogy, we want to run a mile, that sprint. We then want to stop, catch our breath, see where we are, review where we are, decide, are we going fast? Are we going slow? Are we, do we need to change direction? How are we getting on? And then we do our next mile. So then we're planning our next mile, running our next mile, and then pausing, catching our breath, doing that review. And this is what really allows us to build in like changing requirements. It allows us to respond to different. So if priorities change, we can shift our priorities really easily. We can shift our approaches. We can build in that learning. So I've done a batch of them. I've now learned a bit what to do, what not to do when I'm conserving or preserving these things, or whatever it might be. I'm archiving a collection. I'm digitizing a collection. So I've done, a batch of 50. I've now got a much better idea. I can pause. I can improve for the next batch and the next batch. Whereas if we do it all at once and then pause at the end, there's not a lot we can do about it because we're probably out of time and budget. So this is what allows us, and it also means that on a regular basis, we're actually able to pause and go, okay, is this all going to plan? Yeah, it is. Right, let's persevere, let's keep going. Or hang on a minute, we've gone a bit off plan here. Things aren't quite going as we planned, as we imagined. Let's pivot. So it allows us to make those pivots much earlier in the process rather than, not really identifying them till close to the end, which often happens. And then it's a little bit late for doing too much about it. So this idea of kind of breaking things down, sprints can be, if you're really overwhelmed, absolutely overwhelmed and feeling like, you're just firefighting, then we can almost do like a daily sprint, right? What am I going to do today? Get it done, review at the end. Or we might be in a slightly more settled environment where we can make it a few weeks. So it might be 2 or 3 weeks for our sprint. Or if we're in a really big, long project, then it might extend to a month. It is very relative. It really does depend on the project, how long we want to make those sprints, what works best, and we might adjust them depending on what's going on at the time. So, so I've talked a lot about why being agile and what it is, but how is really about kind of running these sprints. And one of the tools, I wanted to give you something to take away. And so one of the tools that I've created is the Agile Canvas. And this really allows us to be able to work in this more adaptable way. So on the left-hand side, we've got like our backlog. So if you had, say, an archive collection backlog, then you might have lots of post-it notes on there that show those items. And then the right-hand side is our sprint of work. So that right-hand side is, okay, I'm going to pick batch, I'm going to pick a number of those things to work on. I'm going to work on those, I'm going to park the rest, and then I'm going to track it through. And then at the end of the sprint, we'll review and reflect, and then we'll look at bringing our next batch across. So you can, if anybody can actually just have a quick look at Museum PM and tell me if it works, that would be fabulous, because it's a redirect basically. And then, oh, no, Brad's nodding, so that sounds like it has worked. Yeah, it has. It redirects to the Being Agile in Business /arts, but that's a bit of a mouthful. So I've got the domain Museum PM now, which is very exciting. So if you go on there, you can pop your name and email in, and it'll give you then a download, a printable. So it's a bit, oh gosh, it's international, isn't it? You probably don't know what Blue Peter is. It's a bit of a program over here where they kind of make things, and I always say it's a bit Blue Peter style, because you print out 8 pages and then you stick them together a bit like a jigsaw, and that'll create a big canvas for you, and then you can get your post-it notes out and start using it. So and there's a little guide that comes with it as well, a little step-by-step intro guide that comes with that as well, so you can have a play. There are digital tools out there that you can use, but I tend to start with post-it notes because that's nice and simple and straightforward. But if you've come across tools like Trello, then they can be really great, like Trello, Asana, ClickUp. They're all sort of similar tools where you can create these kind of to-do lists, adaptable and dynamic to-do lists. But yeah, if this sounds good, then I'd really encourage you to go on there, download a copy, print it out. Or if you've got like a whiteboard, you can recreate it on a whiteboard and start using it just on your day to day. So don't start with something huge and overwhelming. Start with like, okay, what have I got to do in the next couple of weeks? Map that out onto post-it notes, and then go, right, okay, what am I going to do for this week? What am I going to get done? And there's some extra bits in there as well around like prioritization and estimation tools and things to really help us to plan more effectively. So that's the planner. And how are we doing? Oh, we're good. So I've talked a little bit about some of the collections and some of those stories that we've used, and I could tell a million more. So it really is kind of great in terms of applying it to all sorts of different areas within a museum. But like I say, I would just start with your own personal workload, get your head around that, and it's quite sticky and viral. So you'll find that you'll start sharing it with people, and then you can start using it in a more collaborative way. So I just wanted, Brad and I are going to chat more about potentially doing a bit of a collaborative course together. So if you're interested in that, let us know. You can get a little mini course as well online, so you can have a look at that under the Museum PM as well. That's got bits and pieces like digital tools and things like that. And I also do custom team sessions. So a lot of things that I do is I actually sort of remotely go in and work with teams that are working on particular projects and help them to work out how they can be more adaptable, how they can be more agile. I also run my own not-for-profit. So I started and grew a not-for-profit. So I know what it's like to be running, you know, a charitable, social, community-based organisation. So we kind of go from right up there, the kind of strategic stuff, to down in the, you know, actually kind of digging in the archives and working on those sort of things. And that's my talk. So it's a very whistle stop kind of introduction. And I will pop some links in the chat in a second, but we've got our, yeah, I'm pretty much bang on time. We've got our 10 minutes for any questions, and I'd love to hear any key takeaways as well. So feel free to pop them. I'm going to stop sharing a second. And then I can see your faces, lovely faces, which is brilliant. Let me pop in the chat while I give you a second to think about any questions. I will pop in the chat those links. So you've got my contact. Do if you're on LinkedIn, do look me up, and I'll try and look up you guys as well. Um, oh, where's the chat gone? There it is.
For
So
me, one of the things that resonated when Belinda contacted me about this is that so much of what we do in cultural institutions is project management in some form or another. Everything from a big move project like Lori talks about in her class, to an exhibition project, to doing a registration project like an inventory. All of these things are projects that we manage. And so much of the instruction that we get in school or via professional development like we do is very specific to a project type as opposed to broader project management, which I've only really seen personally taught in one place in the cultural community and was not highly attended. So it seems like people are more geared towards how do I solve this very specific project than learning how to do project management in general.
yeah, I totally agree. It's and I found that so much running the courses is so much I get the feedback of, oh, I've done project management courses before and I never took to them. I could never get my head around them and never got them working. And I did get some lovely feedback last week actually, and she said exactly that. I've done project management training before but never got started. And because we do the canvas as part of the course, she was like, I've literally got my plan. I've already done it as part of the course. So she had that to take away and use. And like, this is something I can use. I think it's just more creative and more in tune with kind of natural ways of working rather than those kind of more artificial, which were kind of ingrained in us in the education system, like you say. And so it's just kind of really helping people to, work in their own way.
Well,
So,
I also like that you talk about doing smaller sprints or
yeah.
smaller, easily identifiable and finishable projects within the larger
Yeah.
project. This is something that Angela Kip, who teaches our course on managing unmanaged collections, talks about having logical exits. So that you compartmentalize your project into pieces that you can easily finish and celebrate before you move on to the next.
It reminds me, I've had lots of museums, but one particular, the Falmouth Maritime Museum, and they had an idea for a tattoo exhibition, but they felt like it was a really kind of it's totally different to what they usually did, and wasn't sure how it would land. So there's a concept in Agile called minimum viable. So we came up with a minimum viable exhibition. So what they did was they created like a mini exhibition, and they piloted it and they tested it,
Hmm.
and it went down really well. So then that gave them the confidence to go for a full exhibition.
Hmm.
And I think still to this day, it was their most popular exhibition.
Interesting.
So, they were really concerned about because they literally had, I mean, I went to see it and they literally had like skin, with really old tattoos and stuff on it. It was quite like extraordinary. And they weren't sure how it was going to land. But using that concept of minimum viable to test it out first really meant that they could push the limits and they had record numbers of visitors.
Yeah,
Absolutely astonishing. It was brilliant.
we push that concept in evaluating exhibits, which is something you should do before you build the exhibit, while you're building the exhibit, and after you finish the exhibit.
Yeah, often we kind of do the planning and the research, but like it's like the Henry Ford, if I'd asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, and often what people say and what they actually want can be slightly two different things. So people might go, yeah, 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 that's a great idea for an exhibition, but never go and see it. Whereas actually, if you're making it real and testing it live, then you're getting real feedback. You're getting, you're not just getting that. Because if you ask somebody, a lot of people are polite, so they'll go, "Oh, do you like this idea?" Yeah, 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 yeah. Because they're being polite, but really they're like, and you can usually tell because if you study body language, they're going,
Mhm.
"Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah," and they're actually saying no with their body. So it's yeah, it's,
Well, if you let us, clearly Belinda and I will go on and on and on. So anyone else have any
yeah.
questions?
How have you found it? Have you found it interesting? Is it something that you're like, oh, that sounds helpful that you could take away?
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things really resonated. The plan, design, create, deliver, evaluate, and sustain as a project management. But I taught graduate museum studies for 30 years, and that's exactly that plan.
Yeah,
You plan, you design because it's an applied program, not and so you're planning, you're designing, you're creating, you're delivering, you're evaluating it. I mean, because after 30 years, you're one of the courses I taught for 25 and another one for 7 and different, but you're constantly refining it,
yeah,
evaluating,
yeah,
refining it. And then you have a sustainable model that you just kind of tweak after the third time. But I was thinking about the chaos and saying, am I really living in the chaotic with the craziness that I'm experiencing? And I think it's how you handle it. But when I feel like I'm tipping into the chaos, which definitely this week would be one of those days, but I felt this was important for good. It was therapy
yeah,
being here.
yeah.
But, some people say, one day at a time. When I get into my chaos zone, I just take it 1 hour at a time.
One
And I
moment
say,
at a time
right,
is
what are the
often what I'll
three
say.
things
Yeah,
that I can accomplish just this hour?
yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
it doesn't seem quite as overwhelming because
yeah,
you're
yeah,
taking it, you're breaking it even into like you said, the minimal, right? Just
yeah,
don't go
yeah,
overwhelmed by the larger things
yeah.
and just focusing on not just that day, but even that
What's
hour.
the first small little thing that you can do to start to build that momentum? And I mean, I love that you say therapy because again, that is so often the feedback that I get. If you could, I'm blurred, but all those post-it notes behind a little feedback post-it notes, and there's one that says part learning, part therapy. And so many people say, I feel less overwhelmed, I feel
Hmm.
more confident, I feel like this is therapy. It's really helped me get perspective. It's really something, and so that's absolutely brilliant because it does, and it makes you kind of pause and kind of go, oh yeah, this is okay. I'm so
This was my
distracted by
moment,
your lovely cat, Danielle, as well.
right?
So shiny distraction,
Yeah.
little agile cat. It was beautiful.
It's
But
dark,
this
so
was
it's
my moment
bedtime
to
here.
pause. This was the time to pause. And I really thought, I can't really afford this hour. But then I said, I need to have this hour
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
And
then it
stop.
does
And
disrupt.
I would, if you're feeling chaotic, what I would do, get that planner, print it out, get some post-it notes,
Mhm.
get it all out of your head onto that left-hand side,
Oh,
and then
everything
you
comes
can,
out in writing. Like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
bet everyone in here is a list maker as well.
Yes, I used to be a massive list maker until I found Agile, and I used to spend half my time rewriting the blooming
Right?
list as well. And so, yeah, I would just literally spend so much time rewriting my list that I was like, this is such a. And so now, like a post-it notes are like dynamic,
Hmm.
so you can move them back, you can, play about with them, you can reorganize them, you can prioritize them, and then just pick one post-it note at a time. And then when you put it in done, you get a really nice little dopamine rush. You get a little like, yeah, I did that. And if you're like me as well, I can get to the end of the week and feel like I've got nothing done. And then I look in my done box and I'm like, oh, actually, I got loads done, but it just didn't feel like it because maybe I didn't get what I planned done, but I
Mhm.
got loads of other stuff done. So those sort of, weeks where just everything goes chaos and you just have to sort of respond to it. It's a really nice way of responding to that. So, Danielle, will you say it's bedtime for your cat, or were you going to say something else as well?
No, well, yeah,
It's,
it is 10 o'clock at night where I am, so she's like,
oh,
"It's time to go to
bless.
bed now."
Oh,
But
bless. How
I
have you
was
found it?
very good because I have taken other agile trainings, but they've never been into the sort of like the museum archives or galleries mindset. It's always with IT projects, usually producing some sort of software. So it was
Yeah.
refreshing to see that it can actually be applied to other fields and the one that we happen to be working in, and it's not so like the little sprints are getting a product out and then getting the next product out. It's really, you can break down a large project into shorter little bits. So it was nice to hear that.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, it's I mean it is great, like the sort of digital museum projects as well. You can use it with that, but this is an adapted version, so it's not quite the same as Tech Agile. I have evolved it, if you like, to be more applicable to more broader kind of businesses, organizations, but particularly not for profits. And
Mhm.
yeah, I love post-it notes as well. My little tip on post-it notes is always, if you're peeling your post-it notes, often people peel them from the bottom, and if you peel them from the bottom they curl, and then when you try and stick them to something they're really annoying. So if you peel them from the side, hang on, my hand-eye coordination's gone all pear-shaped. But if you peel them from the side, they don't curl. So that's my little takeaway post-it note tip: is peel from the side, not the bottom, and then they won't curl and they won't. But yeah, it's amazing how often that's a key takeaway. Little sessions, when I do little sessions, they're like, oh, it's amazing. And I'm like, I know. Oh, I want cake as well.
Considering how
Absolutely
many
agree.
post-it notes I use, that is very useful.
It's a proper game changer. It really is a proper game changer. Oh, Dawn's got them.
Yep,
Oh,
everyone.
Danielle,
See,
brilliant. Yeah, they are fabulous, aren't they? And I use them so much for,
those
I
were
mean, I
just
used
the
it for
ones
this
within
talk.
reach.
Yeah, I kind of almost, this talk is like, right, what's the minimum viable? I've got an hour with these guys. What can I give you that I feel is going to be most valuable, that's going to have a really nice impact, that, that minimum viable course that, you can take away. And actually, I use the post-it notes, and I kind of was like, right, I'm going to talk about, I'll have this bit and I'll have that bit and I'll have that bit. And I had like 2 hours worth of content. So I was like, right, now I have to halve it. And then I can kind of go, right, what order am I going to do it in? And what am I going to talk about? And then little stories that I want to talk about and different things. And yeah, it's been such a pleasure meeting you all. And I'm so glad that you found it helpful. It's
Well, we had Europe, Africa, North America, and New Zealand at least
oh
in
my
today's.
word.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely amazing.
Well,
It's
that's one of the things I love about doing online classes is people can be everywhere and you meet people you otherwise would never meet. Like I've known Danielle for years now because she's taken like 10 of our courses.
Oh, brilliant, Lisa. What you put you? Oh, brilliant. Looking forward to flexing your agile muscles. Brilliant. It's, I'm a department of one and always feel snowed under. That is so common. I hear that so often. Is that I'm juggling everything. I did a lovely case study with a lady recently, and she was saying how it's just totally turned things around. She's got it at home as well, so she uses it for home projects, and it just, when you're a one, I mean, I'm self-employed and it's me, so 1 minute you're doing the real presenting the shiny stuff and running the courses, the other minute you're doing invoicing, and then you're doing marketing, and then you're doing admin, and then you're doing your finances, and you're juggling all these different things. And if I could spend if I didn't have a system like this, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I mean, I ran three businesses with it at one point, and I was running three businesses off one board, and it was just like, how am I doing this? But actually, what it did show me quite a thing is that I wasn't doing it, So actually, one business was really taking over, and the others weren't. So then that made me sort of delegate more, build more, put me in the position where I could exit the not-for-profit. So it was self-sustaining. Both of those not-for-profit businesses became self-sustaining, so I could take a step back. And actually, because I was getting an awful lot of interest in working with other people and other companies that wanted to do it, so now I spend most of my time working with other people and helping them to do similar things, and helping them to make sure that they're sustainable and that they can do their best work, and protect our heritage and our culture and make it accessible to people, and all those wonderful wonderful things that, we can do. And yeah, I'm going to stop myself because I will just start gushing if but I will be inquisitive, and I will be trying to look a few of you up and seeing what you work on and where you work, because I'm always fascinated. It's one of the bad things about remote working, actually. One of the downsides is things like I was working with Kew Gardens
Mhm.
recently. They came in, if you know of Kew Gardens, and the Royal Palaces, and I was like, oh, and Durham Cathedral, that was another one. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to be on site. I really want to come and see you, because I'm definitely, when I don't go on holiday a lot, but when I do, I always end up. I went to Venice and I just ended up in all the churches and the Peggy Guggenheim Museum and the Van Gogh Museum, and that was where I was, gravitated to. And that was one of my moments, actually, where I was like, this is what I love. This is what I want to do. It's great to work with corporates and public sector and things like that. You feel like you're making a difference, but actually, when you really love and you're passionate about something, it lights me up. So, and I love helping others, and then I feel like I'm helping others to help others, and so we're starting that kind of chain of events, which is fabulous. Oh,
Then I
Helen,
would
go
say
on.
a few words too, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Go on, yeah.
So I'm kind of a fresh museologist here in Romania at a small private initiated Jewish storytelling museum. And for me, today's session or workshop, it was really interesting, but also refreshing that there are or it showed me an alternative way how to think, how to function, how to work in the everyday work life. so so it really was uplifting for me.
So
Thank
thank you for unmuting and saying that. It really, it means an awful lot. It really does. And especially when you're early in your career and you're learning new things, it's brilliant for a new job, because you've got so many things coming at you that you can kind of capture them all and keep track of them, and look at things, and oh, that's
Also
fabulous.
a very useful skill to develop early in your career because it will serve you well for your entire career.
Really transferable. It's so uh what's the word? Versatile,
Mhm.
in the different ways that you can use it, and you can adapt it as well. It's agile. It's not meant to be just out the box. It's about adapting it to work for you, what works well for you.
Yeah,
I'd
Lori.
love, if anybody has a go as well, I'd love some feedback. So do feel free to, grab my details and pop me or if you get stuck, but the little guide is, I get lots of good feedback about the little guide, because it's what gets you started, and then it's quite intuitive, which is nice as well. So, oh, fabulous. So, Laurie, how have you found it?
There we go. Um, I want to use this for my course,
Oh,
this webinar,
fabulous.
just to give people the idea that, you're looking at moving collections, you're looking at a big picture, but it's much easier to break it down into little bits and think about, okay, I can do this and this and this, and just a different way of thinking about things is very helpful.
Oh,
Just because,
fabulous.
we try to do this at the Science Museum, and I try to do this in other things that I've done, but people think, no, you got to look at well, yeah, you do need to look at the big,
Yeah.
but you also, to get things accomplished, you need to look at, okay, here are the things, this is what's important. Here we are, and I can do this right now, and I can do this right now. Um, Hopefully that's not, you know, just a mess of what you've said, but I think that's helpful to, it's like,
Yeah. One of my sayings is think big, act small.
right,
So
And
that's a really nice one, is like that think big, act small. What's the, and I do it a lot with when I work with startups, because you've got that lovely vision, 3, 5 years time, we're going to be this, we're going to be, top of the world, everybody's going to be buying our things, everybody's going to be stocking our things. And I have to be that kind of reality check of saying, not today.
yeah,
Like, what's our first step? Think of that as a big ladder, and we're just going to take lots of tiny little steps. What's that first step today? And then that'll, we can build that momentum. So by the time we do get to, the end of the marathon, we're still running strong. We're not all burnt out and knackered. So,
right. And I'm working on a couple of projects now where you really need to, you know, the thought is, oh, we're going to do this in 5 years, and the plan is not to get there, it's just to be there.
Mhm.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
this is,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. I think this is helpful in that you do need to think in steps rather than, um, you know, here's the end, but we can't get there. Well, you can, but you need to be a little more thoughtful as to the steps that you need to get there, perhaps.
yeah.
I
I
think we've
often
had so
go,
many people, sorry,
go on.
so many people, so many administrators, so much in leadership who are big picture people.
Mhm.
And they know you're right. It's like this larger 3 to 5 years. And then when you ask for details,
They don't have them.
they'll say, you're too much in the weeds. And I was like, well, if I and my team have to do the work, the weeds are important. Just,
And
Mhm.
you're in
just
the weeds.
It's,
right.
it's really great for that balance as well, because that's just sort of we get a lot of like, we have boards of trustees over here and committees, and they're always coming up with bright ideas, and it's like, well, what are we going to stop doing in order to do this? We're not Mary
Mhm.
Poppins bags. You can't just keep throwing stuff at us, you know but also being able to share what we're already doing in a more visual way kind of helps to manage those shiny ideas,
Yeah.
so actually gets them more involved in what we're actually doing now than coming up with another bright idea, which, like they had last night and then has sort of burnt out within a couple of weeks. So yeah, it's great. There's a whole kind of leadership. I do a whole agile leadership thing as well, where it's really helping leaders to act in a more agile way. So different styles of leadership, creating safe spaces, safe to fail, safe to challenge, so people can really, thrive in that. Like I was saying, we call it servant leadership. So I'm here to serve you, so I'm here to make sure you've got the tools and the resources and the knowledge and the skills that you need to do your job. And then I'm going to trust you to get your job done, and that's how I very much grew the not-for-profits, which then allowed me to step back because I hadn't become a control freak about everything. I wasn't, I'd delegated it and I'd empowered my team so that I could just step back and the wheels kept turning. They didn't fall apart because I wasn't there. So it's because I was flying to Doha or over to BP or, wherever it was. It was, yeah, absolutely amazing. It's Skylar, Emily, all two Emilys, and is it Ilhelm? Oh, now I got Skylar totally wrong. I feel like I've probably said that one totally wrong as well. And Laurie, how have you found it? I know you're off camera, but I don't want to leave you out in that sense of. Feel free to pop it in the chat or just send a thumbs up or any comments or any questions. I will quite happily. I'm not in a rush. I would sit here till, well, it's evening here, but I'd quite happily sit here for another hour and chat away. So I love it. So, it's a bit sad. It sounds a bit sad, but it's not. It's not, I assure you. Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
Laurie.
Yeah, for me, I'm finding it interesting because I feel like quite often we're almost too agile. So I'm hoping maybe this will like help focus that a little a little
Yes.
bit as well, which is helpful. So yeah, no, I think it was good. Or downloaded the template already, so
Brilliant. Oh,
we'll
fabulous. Have a play and let me
see
know
how
how
it
you get
works for
on.
us.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I joke about my little Jack Russell dog, and he's a bit too agile, but I'm a bit the same. I'm like really easily distracted by shiny things, so it helps to keep me on track. It helps me to make sure that I do get the sensible stuff done as well as the
Mm.
shiny stuff.
Well, it's so much
Oh,
of us,
brilliant.
so many of us are working as a one-person department or a one-person institution, and our lives are consumed by the things that are always coming at us.
Yeah.
And so the challenge is, how do we manage those things so that we can actually accomplish the other things that we want to do or need to do?
Yeah, yeah, because things can become all consuming, can't they?
Yes.
And you can get really, or you're just constantly firefighting what's coming in. So it's about creating that space where you can, yeah, get the things that must get done, but also work on some of those wouldn't it be lovely ifs? Because often they're the game changers, they're the innovations, they're the improvements. So actually being able to create that balance is really nice. So it takes a few sprints, don't get me wrong. You start off your first sprint is just all musts and all urgent important. But once you've run a few, then you start to create that slack and you start to create that, using concepts like minimum viable and things like that, you can actually create a bit more time and space that allows you to do those other things. It's as well. And those can be, yeah, like the tattoo exhibition example, that was a side idea, above and beyond what they were planning, but it turned into one of the best things they ever did, which was amazing. So, oh, brilliant. Thank you, Laurie. That's so lovely to hear. So whereabouts are you?
I'm in Ontario, Canada.
Oh, Canada. Oh, we got Canada as well. Oh, Canada's somewhere I've always wanted to visit.
Oh,
There used to
do.
be, it's yeah, it's one of those on my list, and New Zealand actually, and Africa. I was talking to somebody actually who was from Zimbabwe this week, and he invited me. I said, "Oh, I've always wanted to go on safari in Africa," and he said, "Oh, come to my house. You can stay. I'll make you a guest." I was like, "Don't say things like that. I'll be there." It's, oh, Emily, brilliant. You're an archive project coordinator, so this is super helpful. Oh, it is. It's really great for those, so you can think about it as tasks, but you can think about it as actually objects as well on those post-it notes. So then you can use it around, yeah, I've stopped myself going off on but yeah, you can use it sort of task-based or things-based as well, and really think about some of the concepts I think you'll find really useful, like the Pareto principle and the minimum viable product and things like that. And yeah, oh gosh, I could go. It's oh, Skylar, brilliant. You've enjoyed the discussion, brilliant. It's pragmatic. I think that's true. I think it is very pragmatic approach, but it's got that kind of innovation in there as well. And oh, and I totally agree that yeah, everybody's insights have been brilliant as well. Have I missed anybody there? No. And Lisa's with the feeling snowed under. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Who had? Is it or is it Ilham? I'm really curious now. Do you mind unmuting and letting me know? Are you still there, or are you? I know I know sometimes it's. I hope you feel kind of comfortable to chat. It's one of the things I really love to do, but I think they might be.
Yeah,
They might be off
Ilham
meeting.
registered yesterday, and
Oh, it's Ilham.
well, I'm guessing at that too because I haven't heard, but I believe from Algeria.
Oh wow! Oh wow! I hope they've enjoyed it. It's what I'll do. Let me make a little note, and I'll see if I can look them up. And because sometimes if you're a bit of a reflector, then it's kind of you don't really you want to make it, you want to digest it, and you want to process it before you sort of have questions. I wish I was more like that. But yeah, I think sometimes you kind of, and it is definitely the sort of thing that you want to sleep on as well, because it almost reprograms you a little bit, and then it can feel a bit, excuse me, counterintuitive sometimes. So it can take a little bit. I always think kind of sleep on it and start small, Agile's all about lots of little small steps. So don't try and big bang it into everything. Just start with something small that you want to get done and start with that. Like, what's the first thing? Like, for me, it's like, right, what's the first thing to do? Download the planner. And then, like, the next thing is watch the little guide, print it out, have a play, mess about with it. I mean, I used it for homeschooling in lockdown. I've used it for renovating my house. I've had people plan weddings with it. I've had people. I have actually. I think it was Dawn that touched on it. Sorry, I lost track a little bit of the conversations, but from a mental health and wellbeing perspective as well, I've done quite a lot of work recently with that. And there's a lot of people in the UK in museums that are suffering with burnout. And I've been through burnout, and I'd like to stop as many people as I possibly can from going through it. But it's a really brilliant approach from a health and wellbeing point of view as well. I got long COVID and was totally wiped out, and it totally nailed my mental health. I was told to give up. I'm a horse rider. I was told to give up riding, take up yoga, give up my career, all these things. It totally sort of destroyed my confidence and things. And in the end, the doctors were like, there's nothing we can do to help you. And so I was like, right, well, I might as well try an agile approach. And now I'm back out competing on my horse. I'm talking internationally. I'm a growing advocate, if you like. I've been doing the personal research, testing it on myself. I've then worked with a few others, and actually I'm feeling more and more confident now that I can say this is something that can really help if you are feeling snowed under, overwhelmed, firefighting, like you're on the edge of burnout. Use this because it will help to give you that structure and help you to say no as well. Because I think we can be, or I can certainly be a bit guilty of when people ask me things, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And then all of a sudden I'm not doing anything for myself. I'm just doing lots for other people. So it helps me to get that balance and put the writing on the wall, literally with post-it notes, so I can stand back and look and go, oh, okay, that's what I've got going on. These are my priorities, and make sure I'm, doing the best I can for me as well as everybody else. So, but
Well, we've
again, I could talk
occupied
for
an
another
hour
hour.
and a half
Oh
of
my
people's
word!
time now. So I want to
Oh,
thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions for Belinda, I put her email in, and you can always contact
thank you.
me. And if you have any questions
It's-
about our program at Museum Study, please feel free to reach out to me as well.
Yeah, I'd love to do something collaboratively as well. So I think if we can make that happen, or if you want a guest speaker, Laurie, and to come in and talk a little bit about Agile, I would always be and teaching as well. I've built like degree units using Agile as well. So I've built kind of final year degree units and all sorts of things using Agile, which was amazing. And I and the homeschooling worked amazingly well as well. It was for my partner's son, and he was really behind in school, and actually we got him back on track using it and doing it, um, which was amazing. Again, another story I shall you can, but yeah, look me up on LinkedIn and connect, and I often share stories and insights and things like that, and I'm always happy to have a conversation. So
The graphic
that's
you shared at the beginning with the plot of the straight line and then the squiggly line, I instantly thought of Lori's class because one of the things we talk about in the class is how to plan for things not going the way you hope and that ideal, because inevitably they do. And the project that she was talking about, moving the Science Museum, a lot of things didn't go to the original plan. There were a lot of surprises along the way. There were a lot of adjustments that needed to be made. And so that's very much something she talks about in the class is you have to prepare for the unanticipated. And
yeah.
Agile really is all about that.
It's planning for the unplanned.
Yep.
It's a really great kind of planning for the unplanned and
But
making sure
but
you've
in
got,
learning to plan for the unplanned, you're actually planning those things.
yeah. You're kind of being conscious that there are things that you don't know and that they're going to come out. So you
That's what
build
we
in
talk
some
about in her
capacity for that.
class is okay, if things don't go according to plan, what are the most likely things that will cause them to shift from that. And let's prepare for those at least. And in doing that, you're becoming more agile or learning to become more agile.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, we'll have to have a catch up, Laurie. It sounds like kindred spirits, and we'll have to have a catch up and a conversation, and see if we can do some work together or something like that. I'd love that. It's I love collaborating. It's my favorite thing is when you can connect with other people that have the similar mindset and bring things together and create something great. It's yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure, and yeah, and apologies that I have kept talking for an extra half an hour. I hope you don't mind. It's well, people have dropped off when they've had to, haven't they? So it's I'll keep going till
But
it's just
I,
me.
the two people who were here latest in their day are still here.
Oh, because we're all different time zones, aren't we? Yeah, so it's 9:30 in the evening here. So, but I am a bit of a night owl as well, so that works quite well for me. But I imagine we've all got all different time zones going on, haven't we?
It's always the
So,
challenge in setting a time for a webinar like this is to make it accessible to the most locations, and that we were able to get from New Zealand to Romania is pretty incredible.
that's amazing. And then across to Canada and down into America and
Yep.
over to the UK. Yeah, we've been very agile, haven't we? It's, oh,
All right, good
well,
to see everyone.
actually, do you
Thank
want to
you.
stop recording? And if we hit the stop record.